Good afternoon. You're joining our session with Parker Dewey today for Gen Z's new rules for hiring. We're going to be sharing data from our annual Student Sentiments on Campus Recruiting Report. My name is Michelle Amold. I lead the employer engagement strategy at Parker Dewey. I'm really excited to go over this data results with you today. Like I said, we've been running it for this is our 5th year running the survey. It's something that I've enjoyed working on over the years and really getting that data directly from the students into your hands. You should have already received a link to the full report via email when you registered for the webinar. If you've got any questions as I go, feel free to post them in the chat. Kristen on my team is here as well. She'll be in the chat throughout the session. I will kind of just push through my presentation and then go through those questions. But she can also post a link to that full report if you'd like it accessible. And yes, I will definitely provide these slides as well. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today. It's our 5th year running the survey, as I mentioned. We tweak it each year, really just to dig into what we're hearing from our employer network. What are their top questions? What are the challenges they're facing? And the purpose of this survey is pretty simple. We've got a highly engaged network of early career talent. They are hungry for opportunities. And we've also got this equally hungry network of employers who are pulling out all of the stops to attract and engage this talent. And yet, both sides are often wondering, why is it so hard? I will preface this all to say I don't think there's a silver bullet, but I do think there's a lot of actionable opportunities for employers and career service professionals to refine their programming. So without further ado, let's jump into the data. I want to start by talking about who we surveyed, some of the biggest takeaways, and some of the trends that we've seen since launching the survey. So first, I want to point out what's different about our surveys compared to some of the other surveys out there from different early career networks. So in this survey, we are not looking backwards and asking the class of 2025 that just graduated last week, hey, what happened? We're instead looking forward. Our data set specifically is seeking input from students who are enrolled or planning to enroll for the upcoming school year. And our goal here is really simple. We want to get data in employers and higher ed partners' hands so they can proactively plan again. This year, 40% of the surveys came from students who are expecting to graduate in the class of 2026. So not alumni, current students. These are students who are actively trying to get in front of you, employers, or look for your service and help, career services, and who you're trying to get in front of as well. As this slide is showing, compared to other early career networks as well, Parker Dewey's reach skews really towards diverse, underrepresented talent in the workforce. And this year, 78% of respondents self-identified as candidates belonging to one or more diverse groups that encounter barriers in the hiring process. They may have additional challenges or needs. One thing I wanted to point out, or two things I wanted to point out, is we are seeing growth in a few student populations. So first generation students, the percentage of that has grown over the years. These are the students who often lack professional networks. They don't necessarily have a tie to someone who can show them the ropes when it comes to building their resume. We're also seeing growth in the non-traditional student segment. These are not your traditional 18 to 22-year-olds who are coming straight from high school. These are a lot of folks who are older, typically, returning to finish their degrees. And look, I don't know that economists have declared a recession, but we certainly see that as a trend whenever there's uncertainty or layoffs in the workforce. So I wasn't surprised to see those grow necessarily, but to me, the key takeaway here is this is a clue that there's a shift in who early career talent is. These are candidates who are increasingly seeking flexibility and inclusive pathways. And And just a shout out again to that full report, there is some more granular details on some of the barriers that students feel like they're up against that's keeping them from applying altogether. Today, I'm really going to focus the session on where to best spend your time. The next thing we looked at, and we've been looking at this for 2 years now, it's a question that we derived from the student feedback. When are they most interested in engaging with employers? When are they thinking and wanting to learn more about careers? And I think it's a little bit surprising to some, others maybe not so much, but 72% say they already have a career plan by their sophomore year. So we first reported this last season. We had gotten an overwhelming number of write-in comments from students saying things like, I couldn't find an internship that would accept a freshman. Everyone tells me I need experience and no one's hiring. I'm in junior year and all the internship posts are asking for experience. We as professionals know that the experience requirement for early career roles, it's frequently just a hiring manager wish list. But I want to go back for a minute and just consider that 1 in 3 students are these first generation college students who probably don't know that experience is a wish list and not a requirement. I want to caution employers that continue to keep sort of outdated, unclear, heavy requirements and intern descriptions. You are coming across to students in their own words as employers not invested in my growth. I think could be my personal hill to die on. But every time you're including 2 to 3 years experience in an internship requisition, you're actually making our higher career friends on the call, higher ed career services folks on the call, a little more difficult. You know, they've got to spend time with students really explaining how job ads aren't exactly truthful. The employers don't always say clearly what they mean. And really for a lot of students, there's this whole secret language involved in getting hired. Just a side note, this is a personal quest of mine. I have a whole other presentation that really dives into the data on why your early career program isn't equitable. But I'm going to get off my soapbox, focus on this data today. Really the takeaway for any organization out there, if you're facing green eggs, if you feel like you've got limited employer brand awareness, if you're getting a lower than you'd like intern to full-time conversion rate, this is the number I think you should take back to leadership. When you're not investing in early engagement programs that reach students when they are actively in the consideration and exploration stage, you're essentially 2 years behind the competition and you're perpetually playing catch up in talent's minds. You know, we are seeing this certainly on the higher ed career services side. And this is, I hope, the call to action for employers to get on board too. We're running a lot of programs that are focused on freshmen, sophomores. I think some of the career service folks on the call could even speak to efforts that are beginning as early as students right now who are going to be starting in the fall. So want to make sure that everyone is aware that that's when the students are first starting, and it's a great opportunity to get in front of them and really stand out and build your employer brand. Here's what the students say they actually want. All right, here's their sentiments. We ask questions around campus recruiting activities, what they really want, what they feel like they need more of on their journey from classroom to career. And this year is the first time we actually incorporated a few questions for our higher ed partners. And we asked the students straight up, what is your career center doing or not doing that is supporting you along your way? This was a new question. And, you know, look, we get the same comments every year from the lost students, you know, comments like, well, I don't even know where the career service office is, or I don't think I've ever been invited to a career fair. Let's take those responses with a grain of salt. You know, we know, I think we can all agree, no matter how many emails we send or events are hosted or flyers that get posted, there's always going to be a student that's shocked to find out that they have access to all of this support. And so these couple of data points that I'm sharing here, you might already be doing that, and that's great. These are the students coming in and saying, keep it up, we want more of this. So two data points that really jumped out at me. No matter what strides are made by organizations like NACE or Pay Our Interns, a majority of students are still calling out a need for paid opportunities. 70% said they want hands-on, paid, flexible experience. 61% said they want more paid experiential learning opportunities. This is a big issue for today's students, especially as those demographics shift. Likewise, more than half really doubled down on this idea of flexibility. 55% citing heavy course loads, full or part-time employment, and just other responsibilities as reasons why your current program may be missing them. On the employer side, I think one student put it best in their comments when they said, I learned more in the first week of my internship than I did all semester. 83% are really seeking experience in the career areas that interest them. They're using those opportunities to see if it's the right fit, to see what it's really like, to get that sneak peek. 79% want to begin developing career-specific skills. So they do recognize the classroom might be more theoretical. I want to get those skills that are in demand that employers need from me every day. These are students who are hungry for experience. They want to learn by doing, and they want employers to support them in bringing those classroom skills into the workforce. Some good or bad news, depending on where you fall. If you've got really a strong employer brand, I think you're in luck. 57% of students, they see campus activities as the way to get in front of you. They're looking for you, and they're showing up looking for you. If you don't have as strong of an employer brand, or maybe students just have misconceptions about your industry, I think you're in luck too, because these students are here, they're waving their hands. They are saying they would love to learn more about you through experiential learning. Just another shout out to the full report. We also took a closer look at what factors motivate students to apply for work integrated learning opportunities overall, which I think any organization should keep in mind as you're thinking about next year's summer interns. I know it's a little too late for now, but thinking ahead. I want to spend a little bit of time here for those organizations that, may feel like they're lesser known, or just don't have as strong of a campus brand. But we dug into this point deeper this year, and we specifically asked students about unfamiliar companies. What's motivating them to apply? What stands out and catches their attention? And I really wanted to uncover, why are some of those uncool, I don't think you're uncool, but less known companies, why are they having so much success on Parker Dewey? 83% of the students said that learning potential is the biggest motivator in engaging with an unfamiliar employer. Anytime you can position how your opportunities will allow them to continue to grow and go throughout their career, they are interested in looking for those. Another 73% said that the opportunity for impact is what really gets them excited. So even if they haven't heard of your company or are unfamiliar with the opportunities you offer, by incorporating, what they might be doing in their internship or experiential learning opportunity, how it's, meaningful to the organization and to themselves, that's what they're looking for. They're excited by that. I consider myself a data nerd, so neither of those responses particularly shocked me. There's a ton of survey data out there that's really speaking to what's driving Gen Z. What I think is most striking is how these top responses really relate to some of the other data that I've shared today. So 81% of respondents said they would be likely to engage with an unfamiliar company via Parker Dewey. I think that's because we are seeing that compared to other recruiting activities, we are connecting them with those hands-on opportunities that they're seeking. Now, moreover, and with flexibility in mind, we also wanted to know like what's driving them to join Parker Dewey. The number one reason students say they're signing up for Parker Dewey is specifically to find experiential learning that accommodates their busy schedules. We saw that with the demographics. The second reason is that today's students are specifically seeking opportunities to gain exposure to various industries and roles. I think that's a very mature outlook. The students recognize that there is a lot that they don't know. They are curious and interested to learn more. They're just seeking to do it through hands-on opportunities. This last data point on the slide shocked us too, right? We think about online shopping, whether it's for jeans or a degree program or a job. We think about people doing a lot of independent research before they raise their hand. But what the students reported this year is that more than half aren't starting with that independent research. They're not going first to a job board or visiting a career site. Instead, they're out there. They're scoping out who's supporting their growth and development, who can help them on their way. And so if there's one takeaway from the report that I want to leave you with, it's that the talent is here. They are eager to engage and they're eager to learn through this hands-on, meaningful experience. I'm going to take a breath for a moment. In my next slide, I'm sharing a data point that I didn't share in the full report. So this is exclusive access today. I often feel like I'm preaching to the choir a little bit in these sessions. I know almost everyone involved in the early career space recognizes the value of experiential learning, but how many of us are being inundated with demands to do more with less? I wanted to leave you with this data point. It didn't make the final cut. I felt it was a little biased, quite honestly. But look, we asked specifically students who had already done a traditional internship if they felt like it wasn't the right fit, how soon did they know? And the reality is that most students and managers know it's a bad fit within a week's time. So this is not saying that 88% of your interns will be a bad fit. Certainly your conversion rates prove that. But it's pointing to opportunities to really optimize how you're evaluating the candidates before making that hiring decision. Look, we're all investing a lot of time, money, and energy into these programs. And I think we all deserve to get the highest ROI from our efforts. And that's what we're supporting employers and higher ed partners to do. Whew, I plowed through this. What we cover in this year's student survey is really just this overwhelming preference for this meaningful work, driven by real world exposure, their personal values. When these same students are stepping into the recruiting process and start engaging with employers, their motivation is often hitting a wall. And that's because there's a real mismatch about what the students are excited about and how we actually ask them to show up for internship applications and other events. I do believe that this disconnect is a great opportunity to meet students where they are early with support, clarity, development opportunities. And the bottom line is students want to work, they want to learn, they want to belong. Parker Dewey supports you in making a space for that. I am going to take a breath again. I sped through that. Any questions that are coming up, any data that you want me to dial in on, like I said, you've got access to the full report. Anything we should focus on, I want to open this discussion up. So I will open the chat.
Michelle, one thing I think came through the Q&A, so just want to make sure everyone got a chance to see it. But there was a question around when it comes to building strategy around engaging with students early, what events do students value with employers? Are career fairs enough? And are they something I should push for with our leadership?
Great question. We did not break out the data, although now I'm really interested in breaking out the data in that. We didn't break out class year for the survey respondents and their preferences, but now I'm really curious. So we're going to dig into that data soon. I'm going to get the details out. But really, overall, when we asked students their preferences on current campus recruiting activities, we got their ratings for micro internships, traditional internships, career fairs, info sessions, networking events, emails. Really, we asked them the full gambit about how these different activities reach them, what they think about them, and surprised they all feel like they get too many emails. But I don't think email is going to go away anytime soon. I hope not. And ultimately, I guess to answer the question is it's experiential learning. I mean, I think that today's students are heavily online and they recognize that they need to actually get in there, try the job on, see what it's like, and get that information up front so that they can make the most effective decision for them. You know, just on the same way that employers want to hire the highest potential talent, students want to find the job that's the right fit for them, that is not just a job, but a career path where they can grow and develop. And so, yeah, I'm really intrigued. I'm going to have to dig into the data on those ratings of other campus activities based on class. But overall, all of the students, the data really shows that it's hands-on. They want more opportunities to try.
Another question I'll just kind of piggyback on that came through again, the Q&A. And feel free, folks, if you want to ask in the chat, feel free. You're also, we'll track and monitor the Q&A. But there was a question on the onset. I know you covered this in the beginning, but for some late arrivals on the size of the sample size for
Yeah.
folks who attended, and then was it only sent to Parker Dewey students?
Yes, so we did survey our network, which included both students who are already joined Parker Dewey as well as students from our partner organizations. So that's more than 5,000 different higher ed post-secondary degree programs. I believe the total sample was well over 1,000. I'm looking at my data set now. And again, these are the students who, not in my opinion, they're telling you themselves, these are the students who are actively looking for opportunities, who actively want to engage with employers, who are actively, hopefully, actively using their career services, or they want to know more about career services and how that can help them. So I think these are the students that we all want to target and get in front of.
All right, so another good question, and this is in the chat, and that is, except for micro internship opportunities, are there other ways you recommend, maybe it came out in some of the student data, that would be accessible entry points to learning about and engaging with our company?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what the data said is really, again, it's this focus on experiential learning, and that can come in so many different flavors, whether that's the traditional 3-month internship that we all kind of know, and you're probably getting ready to onboard the interns now, or if it's this micro internship opportunity where it's short term and sort of more flexible. There's a variety of options. We see a lot of organizations who partner with career services to do sort of in-class projects. That's something people run through our platform or do independently. We see opportunities where students just kind of get an example. It could be sort of an online module or more of a here's the day in the life of a certain career role that an early career talent might be able to apply for. There's a ton of flavors, but I think the key takeaway is think about that hands-on, think about experiential learning. And yeah, I mean, these are students who joined our network, so they're specifically interested in that, but they are saying at an overwhelming rate that they don't want as much or they don't respond as much to independent, where they need to go to the career fair and do the research. They want to learn more about you up front before they attend those events, before they get an email saying you should apply for this role. One of the other data points around email is just actually from the comments. A lot of the students said they felt like they were getting inundated with email and that the emails were not targeted to them. I know because I'm working with Kristen and the team, Career Services is doing as much as they can with the tools they have to target those opportunities. I would be surprised if y'all on the employer side, you are not doing the same. However, students really still are failing to necessarily see an email message and connect the dots of why they received it. So that could be another takeaway. Look, I don't think email's going to go away. And I see there's another question in the chat about, well, how do you engage them if, how do you cut through the noise? Um, but giving the students a little bit more of the why, how, I think in particular, the how you're going to support them in their growth and their development, how this is going to add to their learning that they're already actively engaged in. I think those are really key to any message that you're sending out, and really kind of pushing past you should apply. Here's the link. Like the students want more information. They want to know why you think I should apply and what this provides me. Kristen, you're doing great being my moderator. Could you send me some more questions?
Sure. There's another one in the chat this time that I think it speaks to really some of the data you have here on the slide, but acknowledgement that if people know it's a bad fit quickly, and that hands-on is the part for them to learn, is there a good path, process, best practice for people to provide pre-work as part of the interview process? I hate asking people
Yeah.
to do unpaid work, but at the same time, a failed placement is a huge waste of time. What's your take?
That's us. That's exactly where we are focused. I mean, I think Parker Dewey does a lot, and I would encourage Kristen. I think I armed you with a data point about all the data that we can offer you before hiring. But I think there's so many different ways that you can get in front of these students who need that opportunity, right? But by their very nature, early career talent lacks experience. You're trying to make decisions based on a pretty sparse resume, maybe one or two sort of brief interviews, and you're trying to hire for potential. That's really hard. And so the more data that you can collect before making those decisions, that's what we are seeing really empowers the employers in our network to make those high quality hires. It's what is empowering the students on the same kind of angle to be able to say confidently, I know that this is the path for me. I may not have been considering this particular industry, but because I was able to see how my skills align, how this employer wants to support and grow their talent, now I have more commitment to coming into a program than perhaps the average intern. And again, internship, all experiential learning, great opportunities. Always want to kind of like double down on that. This is, to your point in the chat, like this is an opportunity to offer that pre-work, that pre-assessment, get to know them, get to see where they're at, especially in consideration of those younger, um, the freshmen and sophomore students. Think about it as a pre-internship. Think about it as a way to introduce where juniors and seniors can potentially see themselves in the future, and really offer those opportunities and start collecting the data early and often is what I say.
Well, and we'll take a step even further back because there was a question in the Q&A about, I'm not familiar with Parker Dewey at all and what the organization is about and offers. So what do we do? I didn't do
Yes.
my homework so yeah. We can certainly, there's a link we just put
Great.
in the chat that might give you a quick one pager to have, but can Michelle let you
Yeah.
into it? But
So I'm so glad you're here. We care passionately about the early career talent space and about creating more opportunities for experiential learning, for work integrated learning, and really, like I was just saying, more data so that you can make a better hiring decision at the end of the day, or on the career service side, you can really support your learners where they are and coach them to that next stage of life. Um, we are the leading experiential recruiting platform. We support employers in making smarter hiring decisions. We surface up skills insight, candidate engagement data, career readiness insights, all before you make an offer. We also partner with higher ed and workforce development programs nationwide. And you may already be familiar with the concept of micro internships and that model. Um, that's just sort of the model. I think it's this data that's really driving a lot of decision making and actionable changes for recruiters and career services.
another question too. So what would be considered a micro internship? So just kind of a baseline definition. I know you were kind of alluding to it before, but in case folks may.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would really focus on what these students are looking for. We define micro internships hosted through Parker Dewey as always paid, always professional, flexible, on demand, in that the employers are posting these year round as needed, whether that's as a precursor to an internship program or as another element in their hiring process. It's a way to engage students outside of a traditional internship program. Think about, again, these non-traditional students that are growing. We've got student parents, student athletes, folks that really miss out on traditional campus recruiting activities. And this is a way to reach them. I think most importantly, when you're thinking about any work integrated learning, any experiential learning experience, it's hands-on. It gives them a preview of what they can expect. It allows them to envision themselves in the role, or just really understand, hey, I'm an econ major. What can I bring to a marketing team? Well, I can bring my curiosity, my data analysis, my communication skills. So, um, yeah, I can go on if there's more, but I see Jeffrey's posted in the chat as well.
One question that I know comes up in a lot of conversations is just how much work is it to engage students via a micro internship?
Yeah. Um, I think working with us, it's pretty low lift. We're doing the program management. You're coming to Parker Dewey and you are telling us about your early career talent needs, telling us about, what are your top challenges? Are you seeing, certain demographics aren't even applying? Are you seeing we've got interns starting, but there's low conversion, or we've got high reneg rate before the internship program kicks off? And even just challenges around, hey, our hiring managers are yelling at us, telling us that the candidates aren't ready. The goal for doing any kind of program with experiential learning is to preview those candidates in action. What we are doing and helping both employers and higher ed partners to launch is, like I said, it's a low lift way. We manage it so that you can focus on what's necessary. And more importantly, we're delivering up the data so that you can take action on that. I'm gonna promote myself a little bit more here. I'm actually speaking at NACE, and I will be specifically digging more into the data. And let's see, Kristen, do you have that link for my session? I'm trying to remember. Oh, I called it using data from your experiential programs to de-risk hiring. We're going to dig into some of the data that you could be capturing, you might be capturing, you should be capturing, and really unpack how you can make sure that you're maximizing ROI for any of these programs. And really, like I said, using it to de-risk hiring at the end of the day, optimize what you're doing, and get the maximum ROI.
And just put the link in the chat. So definitely, this will be my sixth NACE session, I believe, or a time attending NACE. Again, recognizing that I've seen a few presentations over the years. There's a lot of good stuff in what Michelle is taking, both for career services folks, but particularly for those of you who are looking at how do I optimize what I'm tracking and engaging students in my programs as effectively as possible. So super excited and great. Thank you, Corey, for the call, the shout out. We definitely look forward to meeting y'all there.
And
Another
Kristen is
question.
presenting as well. She's going to talk about, our program directly with HubSpot and how we've been able to support their team in getting more educated digital marketers out in the workforce.
Yeah, the one that I'm doing, again, huge shout out to our partner HubSpot. So I just get to hang out in the sidelines on this, but we're specifically digging into boot camps for that session and sort of how do you make them as impactful as possible. And again, for you career services folks and friends, this is something that you probably are starting to see more and more on students' resumes. So I want to talk a little bit about where and how that can help you and advising you. And we're going to dig into AI as well in that session, and just what are students learning in these boot camps. So that's again where HubSpot will demo what they're teaching, just to give us a bit of a taste. So that session, again, I'll put the link in the chat. But I'm going to switch back to a question that just came up in the Q&A. And Michelle, I really love to get your take again on this. The comment is, it seems as though most opportunities, internships, micro internships, career events, etc., continue to be focused on neurotypical students. From what you can pull from the survey or other information, what's being done to offer opportunities for neurodiverse students? Students who identify as autistic, have ADHD, executive functioning challenges, or a combination. How do these
I love that.
students get included more often in the early career talent pipeline? I know we did an article about this a while back. I'll put that in the chat. So thank you for that great question, Rich. But Michelle, I'd love to get your take on that as well.
Yeah, and just to be candid, look, we use sort of the same self-identifying demographic data that they're using in their typical job application. So for those who wanted to disclose in our survey, they're going to fall under this disabled category, which I think that there's a lot of pushback on if neurodivergence belongs there, and I don't disagree. But we did get responses from students, including comments where they said, hey, these are the challenges that I'm specifically facing. It did not segment the data in that way, but I'll dig in if needed and look more into that. I think overall, though, the themes that keep coming up, and this actually ties back to someone else's question earlier, no matter what you're offering to students, whether that's the traditional internship, we hope you'll consider micro internships. We have an opportunity to do a free trial and see what it's all about. Whether that's on-site interviews, on-campus interviews, the factors that determine whether a student is going to show up, they have said, and this is in the full report, I didn't have the chart on the screen, but flexibility is top of mind. And when I think about some of what we're all hearing in the HR recruiting space, where some candidates would like better accommodations, they might want more time if you're offering them like personality assessment. They might want the opportunity to respond via email or short answer responses versus, say, a live interview or recording a video interview. I mean, they want flexibility. They want to know that no matter where they are, that they can still contribute and that they're still going to have that opportunity to learn and grow. I think very importantly, again, from the full survey, flexibility was top of mind, but as I showed in some of the data, they are really interested in developing their skills. I think, like I said before, like this is a mature mindset for these students who, like I said, they're actively engaged in career planning. They're actively looking to engage with employers, and they recognize that I'm only learning part of it in the classroom. I'm learning communication skills, I'm learning research skills, I'm learning maybe some major specific stuff, but there's so much more to the world of work. And they're raising their hands and saying, I want to be able to develop those skills as well so that I can be prepared to enter the workforce.
I think we ran through all of the questions in both the Q&A as well as in the chat.
Great. I am going to do one more plug for NACE. Jeffrey will also be presenting at NACE during the virtual conference. He's going to take this presentation and flip it. He's got a panel of students so that you're not just hearing me listing out data points and the conclusions I've drawn from the data, but you're hearing it from their mouths. So I really encourage you to sign up for that one if you're able to. It's through the NACE virtual conference happening later this month. Oh, we got that link right there for you. And yeah, we're gonna take all of your questions and put them to the students directly. All right. If anyone wants to follow up, I know that I kind of briefly mentioned we do have a free trial offer going on now for employers to kind of try out our model. And then Kristen and her team are always available to talk more about how we're partnering with different schools and workforce development orgs. That really runs the gamut of flavors from, you know, telling the students that this exists to, programs specifically supporting sophomores, for example. So she can tell you more about that. I'm so thankful that you joined me today. I hope I didn't speak too fast. I hope you have a great rest of your week.